we're going to do something fun right now. We're going to take what we know of the story of Jesus' death and resurrection and the story that we just read that tells us all about the death and resurrection of Jesus. And we're going to just do something fun with these little eggs. If you were in preschool last year, you might remember them. These are called resurrection eggs. And I'm going to show you, they look just like Easter eggs, but they are not Easter eggs. These are a little bit different. So I'm going to just show you the fun things that are in these eggs, and I'm going to tell you again the story of Jesus' death and resurrection, and I want to just see if you can come up with what is going to come next with each thing that we do. Okay. The very first thing that I'm going to pull out is a blue egg. Do you see a blue egg? There's ones that look kind of blue. We're going to pull the one that's really, really blue. It's this one right here. And this is the very beginning of Jesus' journey to the cross, and it has to do with Palm Sunday. And Jesus got to ride on an animal. Do you remember from our story the animal that Jesus got to ride when he was entering into Jerusalem? And the people laid palm branches down, and it made a soft bed for this animal to walk on. Can you remember what it was? I'm going to pop it open, and it is this little guy. Can you see him? He's a donkey. Jesus rode on a donkey, and that might sound a little bit silly, but I'll tell you what, back in Jesus's day, riding on a donkey meant that you were royalty. It meant that you were a king. So that's the first thing that we're going to think about. I'm going to put my little eggies back in there, flip the page. Okay. And then, do you remember, I don't think that our book said it a whole lot, but there was one of Jesus's disciples. His name was Judas, and he betrayed Jesus. That means that he kind of lied about Jesus, and he took money to tell the leaders of the Jewish church who Jesus was so that they could capture him and arrest him. And so he got paid to do this. And this is going to show us, this light pink right here, is going to show us, to remind us actually, about what Judas got. Do you see these right here? They look a little bit like quarters. They're not quarters. They're just silver coins. And let's see, they've got what it looks like Caesar on it. Do you see that? Do you know what Caesar is? Caesar was kind of like the king of Rome at the time, and his face was on the coins. So if you can see that, you can see this is just like what Judas, the money that he got in order to betray Jesus. Ready? Next one. Okay. At Jesus's Last Supper with his disciples before he died on the cross, he used the cup of wine from the Passover to explain his death. He also had bread. Christians still drink from a cup to remember Christ's blood poured out for us and our sins. And it's this light purple kind of lavender color. Let's see what it is. You see this? This is like a chalice. It's a metal, kind of like a wine glass. But this is probably what Jesus used with his disciples to pass around. They all drank out of the same cup. They had wine in it. They passed it around. Each person took a sip. And it's just like nowadays when we take communion, we have the bread, which makes us think about Jesus's body because his body died. And then we drink the wine or the grape juice that makes us think about his blood. Okay? Oh, this one is really good. Orange. Do you see the orange in there? Right there. Okay, this is going to remind us that Jesus went to the Garden of Gethsemane to pray with his disciples. Do you see? What is this? It's kind of hard to tell what this is, but it's actually two hands put together like this that are praying. So sometimes we might think about praying like this. Sometimes we hold them like this. But this little picture is like two hands that are being put together to pray. Jesus prayed in the garden, and he actually prayed that to God the Father that he wouldn't have to go to the cross, but he said this, "Not your will, but my will be done." That means that he wanted to do whatever God the Father wanted, not just what he wanted. Now, the next color is going to make us think about some hard things that happened to Jesus. This is the green, okay? And it says, after his trial by Pilate, the Roman soldiers used leather ropes with rocks and metal inside of them. Lost one, all the way down. With rocks and metal woven in it to whip Jesus. And so this little strip of leather right here just reminds us that Jesus didn't just go to the cross. Before he got up to the cross, the soldiers beat him, and they beat him pretty hard, and he was hurt pretty badly. Very badly. Okay. Light yellow. Let's see if this is the right one. It is. The soldiers who crucified Jesus put a crown of thorns on Jesus's head so that they could kind of like make fun of him. And they said, "Hail, King of the Jews." But they didn't really believe that he was the King of the Jews. They were just making fun of him. So this looks like the crown of thorns. It's just a little metal piece. It's kind of pokey. It's not sharp for me because it would hurt me. But Jesus had a real crown, and you saw the picture of it in our book that had real thorns in it. Okay, yellow, regular yellow this time. And this has to do with the nails. Remember that when Jesus was put on the cross, his arms were straight out, and they put nails, I mean, people say right here, but it might have been right up here in his wrist. And so his hands and arms were nailed out, and his feet were kind of crossed over like this, and nails put through. And so his body hung up there on the cross. And so what's right here reminds us of the nails. It's a cross, but it's a cross made out of nails. There's one going this way that's kind of like the one that went through both of his feet, and then a nail this way and a nail this way. Okay, purple. You see the purple? Right here. Roman soldiers used a spear to pierce Jesus' side while he was on the cross. They didn't just leave him up there. They also put a spear in him while he was on the cross. Okay. Oh, and I've skipped one actually, so let me go back just a little bit to the light green, which is this one. Before the spear part, the Roman soldiers used the dice to gamble for Jesus's robe. Because sometimes we might play a game with it. They played games too, and they rolled the dice. Maybe one of them picked a number that was on the dice, something like that, to decide who got to keep Jesus's clothing. Oh, now we're going to think of the sad moment that Jesus died on the cross. But for us, it's really not the saddest moment because we know that he's not going to stay dead. But there was a man named Joseph of Arimathea, and he was a man that loved Jesus, and he said to Pontius Pilate, "Can I have the body of Jesus? I would like to bury him." And so they gave him the body of Jesus. And so he took Jesus's body and wrapped it in a linen cloth. This is just a little tiny piece of cloth. It had to be a lot of cloth to wrap a whole human inside. But this just helps us to remember that Jesus was all the way dead, and that he had to be wrapped just like they always did. That's the way that they did things after somebody died. They wrapped his body in linen cloth before they put it in the tomb. Okay, we're getting close to the end here. Ooh. There we go. I'm going to pretend like it wasn't open. There we go. There was a huge stone that was in front of the tomb. This is just a regular old rock, but we can think about and picture Jesus in the tomb. It's kind of like a cave, carved out of a rock in the side of a hill, and he was inside there, his body wrapped in the linen like this, and that big stone rolled in front. I mean big. This is not the size of the stone. It was so big, Mrs. Snell could never push it, but it had to have lots of men that did it. So he was in that tomb from Friday, and then Saturday, Sunday. Sunday morning was the big day. And so I'm going to look at this light blue one right here. Something big and something exciting. The most important thing for Christians, for all of Christianity, this is going to make us think about the most important thing. You ready? I want you to tell me what's inside. What do you think? What's in there? Nothing. It's empty. There is nothing. This makes us think about Jesus in that tomb, in that rock, and then he miraculously came back to life. I wonder what that moment was like. The stone rolled away on its own. Maybe angels did it. And then Jesus came out. So when Mary, the mother of Jesus, and the other two ladies came to that tomb and the stone was rolled away, what did they see? They saw that Jesus was not there. Those linen wraps that were on his body, they were there, but no Jesus. And we know that he didn't just disappear. His body didn't go away. He came back to life. And then the disciples got to see him, and then lots of people got to see him. He ate fish with them after that. And then after many, many days, about 40 days, Jesus went back up to heaven. He ascended into heaven. That means he actually went up into heaven to be with God the Father. But now we know that he lives in our hearts. If we believe in him, he is inside of us, and we can follow him still in this amazing miracle way. Thanks for listening about the resurrection, and I hope that your Easter on Sunday is filled with thinking about Jesus and about what he did on the cross for you, and that you will be thankful. And I pray that you will have a blessed Easter time with your family, and we will talk more about Jesus for the whole rest of the year, because he's the most important thing in our lives. Okay, have a great day.